the chamber this week, we learned that even on the other side of the globe, your waterways won't always be safe. We swing around our friendly neighborhood, and we create groups that your players can interact with and work with or for. Plus, the wackiness abounds. Join us in our Anti-King. All this and more on Fandom Roulette. Kind of went short on the roulette bit there, so I'm just gonna. Hey everyone, welcome to Fan Roulette. This is Joe,
and I'm Cody.
Hey Cody, what nerd stuff have you been up to, my dude?
Well, like I've said in the past,
is it video games?
It's video games, and
nice.
It's going to be in the video game section.
I'm excited.
And then I've did some D&D stuff. I had a session with another group, and then our session with the Six was last Friday?
It was
one of those two.
2 Fridays ago.
Yeah.
It only feels like last week.
Right?
No, yeah, we have one coming up this week, though, which I'm pretty excited about.
I am super pumped.
I know, it's something that you've been really jazzed about for a while now. Well, we might talk about it. How about we'll see how it goes, and maybe next week our grab bag section can be you talking a little bit about how you thought it went.
Hell yeah. I'm excited.
We're doing a
I love it.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, there's going to be some wacky effects or something in there somewhere.
Cool. Yes, I love wacky effects. That's my jam.
So, what nerdy stuff have you been up to, my dude?
You know, I mean, I've been up to general nerdiness. I am doing some world building for my personal D&D campaign that will one day happen, which you'll hear about later in this episode.
Yeah.
It was, I've been doing some reading, a couple of books that I started and then I put down for a little bit, and now I'm getting back into. Outside of that, not a lot, but yeah. Welcome everyone to this episode of Phantom Roulette, where in Phantom Roulette, Cody and I talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including some history stuff, video game stuff, RPG stuff, and if the spirit moves us, a fourth section that we like to refer to as grab bag, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was our smoothest that little bit yet. Good job, Joe.
Yeah, no, that was good. I'm sorry, I totally just hit my face on the mic.
Oh no! Oh God!
It's been one of those days. I have it close to my face because the volume was set up wrong.
Sure.
And I leaned over to hit one of my buttons, and then I hit my face, and so here we are.
Oh, that's fine. This is great. That's a little good. That was a little behind the scenes action for you folks. So anyways,
yeah, behind the curtains. This is a great segue into the history section, because I hope that hitting my face becomes history.
Did you know that it is technically history if you want to get into pedantics about how history works. Yeah, because technically everything that happens is history. And so in this season of history, we're talking about famous rogues. And so the past couple of weeks, I kind of took a broad or a very narrow focus on it, where I looked at two individuals who are considered like rogues in their own culture, stories, mythologies, what have you. But rogues can also be kind of like a broad definition as well. So I decided that I was going to keep on going east. I put on my adventurer's clothes, and I put a little bit of wax on my mustache, and I pulled out the old sextant and a compass, and I was like, "The onward east, gentlemen!" And it sounded just like that. That's why I was
just like that.
See, that's why I didn't do as much nerdy stuff, because I was in my exploring phase. I was just like, "Explore, gentlemen!" Yeah. See, it was,
okay.
So this week we are talking about Wokou.
Okay.
Which is a Chinese term, or it's a couple of different languages terms for literally Japanese pirates or dwarf pirates.
What? I like it.
So these were pirates who raided the coastlines of China, Japan, and Korea. And as time goes on, evidence suggests that there was actually there were a whole different bunch of ethnicities that were set up, but they were originally referred to as Japanese pirates, mainly because the first sort of major areas they were hitting were the Chinese shores, and what's right off the coast of China, that's right, it's Japan. So they were just kind of assuming that these pirates were coming from
guilty
Japan.
By association, huh?
Kind of. And so the term Wokou comes from a combination of wo, which is an official term for dwarf, or apparently it's a pejorative term that you use to refer to Japanese people. So a little bit insulting there.
Yikes.
And then ku, which is bandit. So literally dwarf bandit or pirate. So, yeah. So there are two kind of eras of this Wokou piracy. The earliest Wokou set up on sort of Japanese outlying islands. So those little islands that are kind of off of some of the coasts of Japan that were uninhabitable for whatever reason. It was a good place for pirates to set up. Similar to our friends, the Caribbean pirates. If you remember, way back when, almost a year at this point. Geesh.
Yeah, it'll be a year in a month. Exactly.
I have a plan for the 1 year anniversary, by the way, Cody.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to do a power hour, I think.
Ooh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
You know what that is? Yeah, you do. I'm going to drink a lot of beer on radio. On mic.
You're just going to chug a beer while trying to do this?
No, every 60 seconds I'm going to take a shot of beer.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, yeah, I'm probably not actually going to do that. But anyways, so if you remember from our Caribbean Pirates episode, pirates like to set up on small islands that didn't necessarily support long-term structures, which was fine for them because they were never really staying in one place for too long. Basically, you just wanted to find an island that people weren't going to track you down or not even think to look for you there. So Japan has a few islands that this fits, So the first recorded use of the term Wokou is on the my apologies in advance. The Guangato stele, a stone monument that was erected in modern-day Jilin, China, to celebrate the exploits of the Guangato the Great. And so it claimed that the Wokou crossed the sea and then were defeated by this guy in the year 404. So that's our earliest example of this. This was erected probably or between 390 or this was erected early in China's history. Now, we have sort of, like I said, two distinct eras. The early one is, the 1400s, 1350s areas like that. And these pirates were particularly rampant in places like Korea in 1350, and then they would migrate upwards. And, they were just doing your regular Japanese things. Or they were,
No. Let's go back to that. What kind of normal stuff would they be doing?
I mean, it just, if you look at the route that they were taking, it was a very logical route, to, kind of, cause when historically when they were, invading, they would kind of go around the southern area and then move northward. It was an easy route for them.
Oh, okay.
Given the land differences.
Yeah. Okay.
And so now here we go. So, we have them in this early period, and, right around, around 1419, we kind of start seeing a, decline, because we start seeing the Korean army, fighting back, and then they were starting to take captives of the pirates. So the number of Wokou raids dropped dramatically after this Korean sort of expedition to stop these pirates. However, in later years, during the history of Ming, during the 16th century, we know that now at this point the Wokou were incredibly diverse because about 30% were probably Japanese, but 70% were ethnically Chinese. And because of the corruption of the Ming court during the Chinese period, many Chinese officials actually worked with the pirates and benefited from pirates, which just basically made it impossible for the central authorities to fight back because the central authorities were working with them. But even as we go along, we start seeing that there were even potentially Portuguese Wokou, because this was also when Europe was starting to try to come in and colonize the areas of East Asia, and we're just kind of figuring out ways to do it. So one of the easiest ways is work with pirates, because pirates really didn't have allegiance to anyone, would accept anyone, and were starting to, make it easier for taking places over. But they were working very similar to other pirates. They were doing small little raids, get money, get stuff, go back home. And it's not, like I said at the beginning, they're just kind of called Japanese pirates because they just kind of assumed they were all coming from Japan. But as more evidence is founded, once again, we just sort of see these people coming from the kind of fringes of society, lower class people who are just looking for ways to better themselves. And like with Caribbean pirates, one of the easiest ways was piracy. Once again, it wasn't like you were guaranteed a longer life by not participating,
Right. Okay.
So yeah, do you have any questions for me?
Well, okay, so we've talked about pirates before, so I'm going to try not to double down on things that so I guess were there substantial differences in the way things were run or the things that were used between pirates, Caribbean pirates versus I'm not going to try to use the pirates we're talking about currently.
Sure.
Cuz I'm going to if you think Joe's going to butcher something that's not, English, I'm going to butcher it 10 times harder. So
yeah, so for one of the biggest things I'm seeing and a major difference is one of the reasons, at least in the early period, so the 1350s,
okay.
One of the biggest differences was that the Wokou rather, didn't have gunpowder. So
interesting.
The Korean.
So what was their typical source of force? I guess is the more polite term for it.
Sure, I'm assuming that they used They either used various kinds of bladed weaponry, different things like that, and then once again you got to assume that as they developed, just simply intimidation helped as well.
Okay.
But yeah, by 1377, there was the Office of Gunpowder Weapons, which was in these different, I believe in Korea, and this was one of the major things that kind of turned the tide. Was now they had gunpowder weapons, which meant that they had weapons that were effective at a further distance, much more dangerous, things like that. And the pirates just did not have anything to fight back with. Another thing too is, like I said, these areas are rather close together, so I'm assuming that not to say that the Caribbean was super duper spread apart, but one of the big things there is the ocean was a major contributing factor, which is one of the reasons why the pirates were able to so successfully do their thing in the Caribbean, which was that sometimes it was hard for navies to get there in time, or sometimes they would have to request. And when you requested a navy from Europe, it took a while to get to the New World, things like that. So I think those were the two major differences, was that just the Wokou were just grossly out weaponized, and were just not quite as weapons-wise advanced to fight back against governments that were now starting to develop, firepower. Whereas, pirates had pistols and cannons and such. So,
gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So there you go. That's history. So once again, it's just us seeing that rogues tended to occupy a sort of, I guess my overall thesis for why rogues, Joe, is that in most all of our stories, rogues are people who operate and occupy a lower sort of strata in a society that was incredibly rigid, a society that was incredibly difficult for you to move upwards. And so, hey, I guess if we're looking for ways to move upwards, you do whatever it takes. And if that way is crime, then so be it.
Okay.
But anyways, hey, hello. Oh, hi. That's not even a voice.
Oh man, that's not even a different voice.
Hey, Joe.
There we go.
Who is this? Who is this friend? My name is Donkey Kong.
Wait, that's not Tendo?
No, is that Tendo?
I mean, that's what it sounded like. But I mean, we're not in the same room, so it could be Donkey Kong. They might have very.
Here's the thing, Cody, is I think Tendo is wearing a Donkey Kong mask and he's trying to fool me. No, it's just me. It's me, Donkey Kong.
Oh man, Donkey Kong, what's up?
Hey, Cody, can I tell you something?
Sure.
I'm the leader of the
Redacted.
You know me.
Redacted.
Well, I'm fine.
Redacted.
Really back. Okay, that's enough. I think that was under a minute, right? We are good on copyright.
That's not how that works, but
no, it is because this is entertainment. This is entertainment for use. Yeah. So Tendo, what are you here to talk about? I heard that there was. I mean, it's me, Donkey Kong. Yeah. Okay, Tendo. Hey, Cody. Tendo is sitting here and he has a question for you.
Yeah, what's up? What's up, Donkey Kong?
Yeah, Cody. Let's say I wanted to fly through the sky like some kind of man spider. How could I do that?
You know what? That is a great question.
Thank you, Cody.
In fact, it's very easy right now if you have a PlayStation 4.
Oh, I don't have one of those.
Oh, damn. Well, guess what?
What?
Last week, Insomniac Games, the guys who did the Ratchet and Clank series and Sunset Overdrive, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, cool.
Just released their version of Marvel's Spider-Man.
Oh, nice. I've actually been really excited about this game.
I love this game.
My friend showed me a gameplay trailer and I was watching it and I was like, I feel like this is the closest they're ever going to get to like actually make me feel like Spider-Man in a video game.
You know what? Spoiler alert. I'm not
go for it, my man.
Story-wise, I'm not super far into the game, but there's this really handy, I think it's a completion level, and I've hit 50%. So I have unlocked a lot of things, but I don't think I'm that far into the actual story, just because I've been having a blast zipping around and this game is so good.
Okay.
So I think there have been quite a few Spider-Man games that have come out.
There have been quite a lot.
Yeah, there have been a lot, and I think this game is, like you said, from playing it, I think this is the closest I'm gonna feel like Spider-Man ever.
That's really
exciting. I think it's gonna be really hard at this point to try and beat what's been placed in front of me.
Now, I do have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
I know for a lot of people, and this might be part of your thing, so if it is, you can tell me to wait, and then you can answer it on your own time. But I've heard a lot of people say, or I know a lot of people, like myself included, have super duper fond memories of the Spider-Man 2 for the PS2. Remember that game?
Yes.
How does it compare to that?
Oh man,
I don't want to put you on blast or anything. So if you want to
No. This is fine. My personal opinion is that this game, I think, takes everything that you need for a good Spider-Man game and just polishes it up and puts it on a beautiful platter for you.
Oh, nice.
This game it's polished. The combat is quick and punchy.
Cool.
And it's really cool because you can web sling. You've got your spider sense, which is kind of like a big part of combat, is like when someone's about to hit you, there's a little thing that pops up on your head. And you're going to see some similarities, and I'll get to that in a second. But you can hit a button and like dodge out of the way, and everything feels very Spider-Man esque. Like your attacks are like very, it almost feels like it's like all over the place, but intentional at the same time.
Huh.
There's combos and finishers. Like there's a lot, like they put a lot of polish into the combat. So it feels very fast paced and very much similar to how like Spider-Man like kind of zips around avoiding things and like beating people up. Like it's just a really good combat system. I will say I'm playing it on normal. I'm not usually one of those who starts on like the hardest difficulty and see how far I can get. I'm usually kind of a middle of the road kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this, and this is coming from a person who is not a gamer. To the level that you are, is I kind of just like playing games on normal just because I feel it gives me a good difficulty curve, but I also want to progress through the story.
Right. So. And even on normal difficulty, I have died quite a handful of times. Like it's not normal isn't a steamrolling kind of like, it is like hard. There are different enemy types. Like there's like big bulky bruisers that can only be defeated in certain ways. There's people with guns. There's people with like weapons, and you can unlock abilities and things like that to kind of augment the way you play. Mm-hmm. Gives you a lot of freedom in the sense like of all of Spider-Man's perks, like what kind of Spider-Man are you? Are you more of a hands-on, fisticuffs kind of Spider-Man,
sure,
where you get a bunch of bonuses to like, punching and kicking and doing all that like in your face fighting? Or are you more about the web slinging and like the different kind of innovative ways to use your abilities?
Okay. So what kind of Spider-Man are you?
So there's 3 trees and I forget the names of them. There's the web slinging one. There's there's like the combat focused one.
Uh-huh.
And then the right hand side is kind of this, it's web slinging in like terms of how you traverse the city.
Okay. So web slinging as a sort of
as like a weapon.
The like non-lethal, like he puts you up against a building and like it, disintegrates in like 2 hours, which is just like, when the cops show up, versus like I can swing really fast from building to building.
Right. And I've been dabbling in a little bit of everything. Some of the side events want you to unlock certain things in order to use them. Okay. So I did kind of go down certain paths just so that I could kind of unlock certain things.
Sure. I've played those. I've played that style before.
And you level up pretty quickly on normal. Like if you're doing all the extra stuff, you do level up pretty quickly. So I think at the end of the day, you'll probably be able to unlock everything if you want. So it's not quite as like damning.
Yeah. Whereas
like some games can be.
Sure.
But I started with, cause like I just picked up an ability where, so there's missile launchers in this game, guys with like fucking RPGs, and they'll shoot RPGs at you and you can dodge them. And it's very satisfying to like, when you dodge something, it's slow-mo and you see the missile like just ever so graze past you and blow up the guy behind you. I just unlocked an ability where if the missile is coming at me, I can hold triangle and catch the missile in air, swing it around with my web, and throw it back at the person who shot me with it.
He's a monk rogue.
He's
a monk rogue.
It's so good. I love it. There are certain stealth-like mechanics. You can kind of enter certain combat zones without being detected, and you can sneak from like perch to perch and like web sling people similar to another game, and I'll make the connection in a second, I promise.
Sure. I have an inkling.
Yeah. And you can like sneak up on people and beat them up, and it's not like heavily stealth, like you're eventually going to have to fight, but it's nice that there's this kind of element of like sneaking up on a bunch of dudes and being like, all right, well, if I take out like everyone on the outside, then this like group of 3 is going to be really easy on the inside.
Sure. I feel that.
Because that's one of the difficulties is when the game starts throwing a bunch of dudes at you and they're all trying to hit you, and it's not like they do the typical comic book like, well, I'm going to wait for Frank over there to hit, and then, oh, he missed. I guess it's my turn now. Yeah, and then, Steve behind him's like, well, I got to wait for my friend to hit.
I mean, like, was it for a
you'll
while?
Have 3 people hit you at the same time.
Was it for a while that was just kind of like the limit of video games? Where it was like, you could only have like one, like, enemy do a thing at a time, and it was like a random roll, kind of,
Yeah. So yeah, now you're dealing with a bunch of different people, and some people are like, I ain't gonna wait for my friend, I'm gonna hit you now.
But Frank's the best.
So there's a lot of, it's very quick. Like I said, it feels very like, it's super fast paced, and it's kind of, it reminds me of the comic books being like, pow, ping, pang.
Nice.
And lots of great, like the soundtrack's great. If you're a fan of the Marvel movies, you're going to feel right at home with like that brass orchestra when you're slinging through New York.
Nice.
It feels like Insomniac's take on the Batman Asylum games.
Okay.
There's the connection. If you've played Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, all those Batman games that have come out.
Yeah, so
it feels like one of those games, and not in a bad way, not like hammy, like, oh, we just basically took everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes sense why the combat feels like Batman, because that's the same thing with Batman is you would also have kind of like your own little Spidey sense and you could dodge attacks, but that makes so much sense with Spider-Man. It's actually weird how, in terms of kind of mechanics, how those two games work, but how different those heroes are.
Sure. So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I remember when I was playing those, and like, once again, this could just be that, those games are a little bit older. Not sure. They're fun. They're a lot of fun, but they're a little bit older. Batman always felt kind of like weighty, if that makes sense. Like you could really
like feel, a little clunky, like heavy.
Yeah, like you could kind of feel like the weight of his armor. Like he wasn't necessarily the fastest mover, whereas like I imagine with Spider-Man, he's like zipping around and like.
Oh yeah, he's zipping around. He's got a lot of slow-mo events where like if you like I said before, if your Spidey sense procs and you hit the dodge button at the right time, like your game will like slow down for a second to show you like, hey, you did a good job. And yeah, he moves really fast. He can kind of like zip to different areas really quickly. Like he's very quick. So that is like one of the big differences in terms of like combat and like getting around is Spider-Man definitely doesn't feel like I'm a dude wearing like hulking armor.
Yeah. Which is like, that works well for Batman. It doesn't necessarily work well for Spider-Man.
Right. So. The games do feel similar. Like they take a lot, it seems like Insomniac took all the really good things about the Batman games and was just like, how do we put our Spider-Man spin on that? Sure. And it feels great. I literally cannot stop playing. I'm really excited to keep like continuing this story. And the game is super polished, because this was developed by Insomniac. It was published by Sony Interactive.
Okay.
And they gave them the time they needed. And it's great because, all the little collectibles have Peter Parker's voice acting behind it. And they all tell a story. And I'm not super familiar with the comic books. Uh-huh. And so I'm not sure if there's like a certain take that this game is going on about, but like it tells you a story without having to like go back and like, this is the time I defeated Rhino. And then you'd have to go through that whole thing.
Okay.
You can take pictures of famous areas in Marvel's New York City. including stuff from like Iron Fist to Daredevil, to all those places. You get to take pictures, and Spider-Man will be like, hey, this is like a thing that I know about that person. Like in this universe, Matt Murdock, at some point meets Peter Parker and is like, hey, if Spider-Man ever needs an attorney, give me a call.
See,
there's tons of different costumes that you can equip and upgrade, and they give you power-ups that are interchangeable. So like, if you like a certain costume, you're not stuck with whatever power it gives you. And I put a lot of time in this game, and I didn't have weird glitches or bugs. I'm not sure if there are any, to be honest, but I haven't had any problems. And I'm sitting on like one of the original PS4s, not like the souped up newer PS4 Pros or anything like that. Honestly, my only complaint, and it's super minor, is that its open world mechanics aren't really breaking any new territory.
Okay.
They played it really safe with this one. But you know what?
You're having fun.
Since it's kind of like the last time we saw Spider-Man, like a lot of these open world mechanics weren't here yet.
Okay.
So it doesn't feel, for me at least, from playing the old Spider-Man 2 on like the PS2, it doesn't feel like old and outdated. Like it feels like really fresh for some reason. And I think that's because I don't have that same like, because like that's the problem with like the Arkham games, or the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, the Batman games, is after a certain point I felt like, okay, well, I've done this a lot.
Interesting.
But Spider-Man feels, fresh because it's not coming off of a very recent
game franchise.
But if you want your open world to feel new and breathtaking, like if you're a real big, I don't want to say open world snob because that's not the right word, but if like you've played a lot of open world games lately and those open world mechanics are starting to grind your gears, you might have some friction with this game, because it does do the typical Assassin's Creed. There are a bunch of like towers in the Spider-Man universe. You go to that tower, you unlock the locations of stuff, you go and get those things, and then you come back, do the next tower, etc., etc. But I love the way Spider-Man slings around New York City. Like, just like the general travel between the cities really good. It's very fast. I don't have any real complaints. Like, that's just a minor thing that I noticed about the game.
Sure. Well, I mean, yeah.
But overall, if you are a fan of Spider-Man, if you want to feel like Spider-Man,
like the web
this game is aces. I love it.
Okay. So I have two things, which is, what is a thought, and then one is a question.
Yeah.
I'll start with the question.
Sure.
So, do you think this bad boy would ever be able to be ported to, like, PC? Or do you think it's something that has to be played with, like, a controller?
Ooh. Well, okay. So, my thoughts, there are some games that just feel real smooth on a controller. And I think this might be one of them.
Yeah, it looked like the web slinging kind of needed that aspect of it.
Yeah, there's some parts where you're pressing a lot of buttons on the controller, which will probably feel really daunting on the keyboard. However, I do have like a controller for my computer, so whether or not I think it's going to be a good PC game is kind of not based on the controller. I think game looks gorgeous on the PS4. I would love to see it uncapped on someone's like super rig, because that game looks gorgeous already. Like they did a lot of polish to this game to make it look really good. So I would be super jazzed to see a PC running it at full specs and see where it goes.
Cool. And then my thought is, God, I wonder how Marvel's video game rights work versus their movie rights. Yeah, just Well, the only reason is because like you watch the trailer and like Wilson Fisk is on the screen, and then like I know that Sony and Marvel made that agreement for Spider-Man, but it's like I wonder if their video game universes are allowed to be able to do crossovers without any repercussions, whereas their movie universes are much more difficult. That's my only thought. So,
okay,
yeah,
I have no idea.
Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. If you're a fan of Spider-Man and open world games, this game is great. I love it. Can't say enough about it.
I'm gonna have to come over and play it sometime, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we go into the middle section?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, wait a second. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of a like Spider-Man theme song. Ish, like the Spider-Man's
Redacted.
Spider-Man. Middle section time. It's middle section time. You can learn about our social media or fight some crime in the middle section time.
Pow!
Thank you. That was nice. That was a good ending. All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to the middle section.
Yeah. Guys, this is where we talk about our social media and stuff.
Yeah.
To spread the word and help us out, because this is a passion project that we do on the side.
Yes. Very much on the side.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, Cody, when Joe does his bad air horn impression?
Yeah.
That's a big announcement time.
Oh, it is a big announcement time. We have a third member of Fandom Roulette who is helping us with our social media stuff, because social media is
it's pretty daunting.
Quite frankly, daunting for me and a time sink. So we had to reach out, and my lovely wife is helping us make sure that we are on point with our social media.
His wife.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to be on social media or anything like that. So
yeah, his wife.
She will be keeping us in line and making sure that we're actually using our social media.
Yes.
So if you want to follow us on Twitter, you want to tell us about all of your disgustingly awesome fanfic of our garbage kids or things that we want to talk about. You can hit us up at fandomr_podcast. That's our Twitter handle. Woo-hoo. We're going to post things like when episodes are up and out of context D&D quotes, which I believe one went out last night. Question mark? Yeah. If you want to send us information, in a longer format than Twitter.
Yes.
You can hit our email at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com.
It's a good place.
And that's where we'll check to whether it's questions about D&D or things you want us to talk about as we progress through the seasons.
Yeah.
More fanfic of Garbage Kids, please.
Please. I'll read it.
You can also do that stuff on our website at www.fandomroulette.com. At the very bottom, past all the cool stuff like our bio and all the episode links, you can find a little box where you can type in your questions and it'll send them to our email.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. We're also on site. Wow, I tried to mix SoundCloud and iTunes. We're on SoundCloud and iTunes.
Yeah.
By searching Fandom Roulette, you can find us there. You can, if people are like, oh man, that sounds like a really cool podcast. Where'd you get that from? You can hit them up with SoundCloud and iTunes. Mm-hmm. We also have an Instagram and Tumblr account with the same name. Yeah.
On Instagram.
We're branching out.
Whoa.
I think our first Instagram post came out last night. Question mark. Yeah.
I'm going to have to start taking some pictures of nerdy food now.
Yeah. And then there's also going to be preview images of the stuff that I'm talking about. If you want to send preview stuff of what you're doing, those can get posted as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of preview stuff, lots of, just kind of general daily nerdy stuff that we get up to.
Sure.
Will be in those areas. We're also on Facebook.
What?
Yes, we're on Facebook, and if you search Fandom Roulette, you can find us. That's where we're also going to be posting general updates, lots of,
Right about your favorite, least favorite bit.
Yeah, you can tell us all about how you want to bring back
Terry.
Back Terry because y'all miss him so much.
Justice for Terry. It's almost as if Joe forgot what his voice sounded like or something.
So yeah, that's our general middle section stuff.
Yeah. Also, please remember to rate, review, subscribe.
Yeah, share. Definitely share.
Get more people involved. Start a conversation. Tell a friend. All that,
etc., etc.
All right.
Yeah.
And like
ping, pow, pa,
pow,
pow.
Middle section.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a classic back bumper, like in like a lot of anime, like the front bumper is usually like some cool like guitar riff, and then the back one is literally just like this symbol on the screen.
Yeah. I get you.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Good.
Yeah. So.
Hey, do you want to hear a funny thing I heard real quick?
Yeah.
So I saw this and then I looked it up. So someone was like, it's crazy that there's a whole anime named after those little crackers that you put into your ramen, which are Naruto's. And someone was like, that would be like naming your child in America Crouton. It's like, hi, my name is Crouton and I'm going to be the president of the ninjas.
Yes.
So anyways.
Love it.
Going on. Speaking of anime middle bumpers. Oh, wait. Hey, Cody. Yeah. Oh, no. It smells stinky in here.
Oh, no. It's leaking over here through the micro.
How does that even work?
Oh, it's the magic of internet.
Oh. I've
guys, it's the garbage kid.
What?
It's our section before the tabletop role-playing game internet section. And this is the internet. This is where we do this weekly. We make new characters for you guys to play as or to put in your campaign. You can use as much or as little as you want, whether it's for your next one shot or maybe you want to play this character all the way to level 20. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah, baby.
All with professionally handcrafted, handpicked names that go beyond the extreme.
Yeah.
That's the garbage kid. And this week,
damn, that was a nice setup.
I have made Sunset Sinner Watcher, the half-elf paladin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me more.
Sunset knew who their parents were and was born at home.
Okay. Good start.
Sunset is the oldest of 4 siblings in the Sinner Watcher household.
Good.
Sunset lived with a single father because Sunset's mother died of natural causes.
God, so many. What are we, the Disney company over here?
Dude, I've been thinking about it. I feel like we're treading on Disney territory.
You're gonna redact Disney. You're right.
Oh, for sure.
Yes. That's my favorite goof.
Sunset lived a poor lifestyle in an apartment in a rundown neighborhood.
That's sad.
Yeah, and Sunset had a few close friends and lived an ordinary childhood.
Well, that's nice at least.
Yeah, it kind of peters, it balances out.
Sure. Sunset
became a paladin because they heard stories of an ancestor who left on a holy quest and left it unfinished.
Alright, kind of Binksy.
Sunset's personal goal is to lead the world into a grand new era, one that is branded by the Sunset Sinner Watcher name.
Whoa, okay. Things took a turn there, Sunset.
Their holy symbol is that of a dragon, emblematic of their nobility in peace and ferocity in combat.
Okay. Things are starting to take a turn.
Sunset's nemesis is a dragon whose servants always get in the way of their activities.
Okay.
Whenever Sunset is angry, they have trouble thinking straight, and they worry that someday they're going to do something they regret.
Oh, boy.
Sunset is 21.
Okay.
And has had 3 life events leading up to this moment.
Okay.
First, Sunset would fall upon some good fortune and find money to aid them in their adventures.
Nice. Good job, Sunset.
Next, they would spend a time working at a temple to raise money. Finally, Sunset would meet someone super important.
Who's that?
And I'm leaving this vague on purpose.
Okay. So
that the audience has some room to play.
It was Binks.
Probably another paladin, yes.
Okay.
So that's Sunset Sinner Watcher. It's like borderline edgy. Like, a lot of things got edgy there, but it's not quite like probably went into Hot Topic a couple of times.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, can that be our ranking system? Is how Hot Topic they are? Oh, Cody.
Oh man,
it's perfect.
That's the new bit.
Okay. We
have to rate our garbage kid by how often they would frequent Hot Topic.
Or yeah, perfect. And then wait. Okay. So we'll make it a 2-prong thing. This is coming right off the dome. If you don't like it, tell me, because this is how ideas come. Like we go back and forth. It's how frequently do they go in and how frequently do they buy something?
Ooh, I love it.
Because, it's like, I've been into a Hot Topic in my day, and I'm like, and then I leave immediately because I'm too scared because I'm a poser.
Okay.
I look at all the belts and all the cool, like, earrings. I'm like, this is duh!
Yeah, it's scary. I understand. I understand that vibe.
It's scary. You want to tell Cody?
It's scary in Hot Topic.
Actually, it's become so not scary in there. It's kind of hilarious.
I don't think I've been in a Hot Topic in a really long time.
There's the Funko Pop wall, like.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I enjoy a Funko Pop here and there.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I enjoy those beady-eyed little things too, but it's like Hot Topic used to be like the cool goth store, and now it's like, here's some goth Harry Potter stuff. Here's your goth Hufflepuff scarf, and I'm like,
Gufflepuff.
Yes. Yes.
I want my wizarding school.
Can that Cody?
Or house is Gufflepuff.
Cody, can that be Cody? Like, we'll have to ban everyone from listening from the 6 to listen to this episode. Like, but can the big finale reveal be that Guth's name was short for Gufflepuff the whole time?
Oh man.
We have to ban everyone from listening. No one's allowed to listen to this episode. Redacted.
This is all side tangent.
TM. But
yes. So for next time, Garbage Kid, we're going to have a rating system at the end.
Yes. This is good. I like this.
Okay. So for our final section.
Yeah.
Of the podcast. God, it got here so fast.
Yeah, weirdly enough, and also so slow.
The ebb and flow of time.
That's true. Time is a construct, folks.
Right.
That'll be my whole season 2. It'll just be me ranting about how much I hate time.
Love it. So this season rather. We are talking about world building for your tabletop role-playing games, your role-playing games, or even just building a world for your stories.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't have to be quite as restrictive as this is for Dungeons and Dragons or whatever you're playing only. Like, this is just world building in general, but it works really well in this setting.
In order to write your fantasy epic, you have to roll on the D20 table to determine...
Actually, you have to roll a D100.
Well, it depends on the table, Cody.
Oh, you're right. Anyways, this week, we're talking about, personally, one of my favorite bits.
Oh, yeah.
Which is factions.
I like factions, too.
Yeah, and to start, I mean, general broad strokes, factions are a great way to build up your world in ways that don't necessarily have to alter, big, broad, like, things about your world that you're building.
Yes.
And in role-playing games or games in general, and even in stories, factions often give you, barriers, maybe these people are quest givers, maybe these people move the story forward.
Yeah.
There are a lot of reasons to, from a from like a like story aspect, like there are so many reasons to throw factions into your world, but they also give a lot of flavor. I mean, there's so many, like it's such a broad topic, because really the best part about factions is they can literally be anything.
Yeah, for sure.
They can be as big or as small as you want. They can be good. They can be evil. They can go against the party. They can go with the party. You know, whether it's a righteous holy mission or just safety in a dangerous world, like factions.
They could be like friendly rivals to the party.
Yeah.
Like a Gary to your party's Ash.
Yeah, exactly. And because realistically, civilization as a whole has always tried to, you know, bind together in some kind of organized fashion.
Sure.
Some people might go against that, and that's fine. You know, more power to them. But I feel like we spend a whole lot of time trying to organize.
We are social animals. That's correct.
Yeah. So the thing that I love about factions is this is kind of the most broad and open,
yes,
in my personal opinion, of how to, like, you can just sprinkle factions all over the place. But I do think there's some key points that we should, talk about kind of broadly.
Yeah.
About things to make your factions, you know, just that step above, like, you know, just a name.
Sure. Can I throw in something really quick for the quick overview section?
Absolutely.
One of the things, and this is something you touched upon, one of the things I love about factions is that it does make quest giving feel more organic in the world.
Yes.
And it gives you something as a player character, something to care about as well.
Yep.
So, if I could just do a very brief tangent in my own Dungeons and Dragons experience before we played together. In our campaign in college, we had run across this secret elven village that we had spent some time with, and we had all gotten to know them pretty well. We had become friends with them. It turned out one of our NPCs was like raised here, so it was like surrogate father figure was there, all of this stuff, and we asked them for their help, and they said the only way that we could help them, or they would help us, is if we found something in a dungeon that the dungeon master had created. So we find the dungeon, we go through the dungeon, it takes us a while, and we get lost coming back. And by the time we got back, that faction had been invaded and taken over by the evil empire that we were fighting.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and due to a lot of really botched things very early on, it fell to me, the barbarian, and our not very bright half-giant paladin to try to save the day. And, like, due to a misunderstanding on my part, all of those elves that we had really grown to care for died. And that, like...
Oh, yikes.
It really stuck with all of us, like, as a party. And, it was a faction that we had really gotten to know and love. They had given us a quest, so we really wanted to succeed so they could help us, so we could help them. And then it was the added weight of watching them, you know, perish. So, like, building a really good faction really brings in a lot of character investment.
Yeah. And it can be very dramatic, or story driving.
Sure.
Like in the case of yours, like that probably drove you guys to fight this evil empire even harder.
Yep.
Because of this.
Also, it in terms too, of quest giving, it can either be a rite of passage, just like your average day-to-day task, or a way to curry favor with them. So.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well said.
But anyway, going on, Cody.
Yeah, I think they're, so the Dungeon Master's Guide has a couple, like, it's actually a very short, like, probably page and a half to 2 pages of, like, stuff about factions, which is really kind of sad, because it's, like, kind of, like, my favorite bit.
Sure.
But some key points, I did a little bit of reading and, wanted to come at least somewhat prepared for this, but the big one, and this is probably going to be the main one for every single episode, so I'm sorry if this gets a little repetitive. Tie it into your theme.
Yes.
That theme that you worked on at the very beginning. How do these groups fit your mold? Like I said in the last episode, they can be a counter theme. Like, they can go very much against your theme.
Yeah.
Intentionally. But if you have these groups and factions that don't really fit your theme, or, you know, it feels very out of place, like, oh, these are just bandits. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
It can at least for me, it can take me out of the experience, and it's no longer this like invested storytelling. It's more like just a game at a table with a bunch of dice and papers and stuff.
Okay.
So tying it into your theme, some big questions to ask about your factions is, what are they all about? Why did they band together? Like, factions need to have some kind of like purpose, you know? Like, they need to, like, there needs to be a reason that they exist. Cause if the reason they exist doesn't take place in your world, then they feel like, you know, space aliens from another planet in your fantasy game, and it doesn't make any sense.
Agreed.
Along with that, what are their goals and what do they want to accomplish? Kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things you should think about when making your faction. Like, what do they want to do? Some little extra stuff, but I think it adds flavor that can keep people interested. Who are the founders?
Okay.
Or founder, singular.
Sure.
And why did they find it? Or,
Found it?
Yeah. Why did they found this? Fuck, Jesus. Why did they why did they establish this faction? And then my last little bit, and feel free to add on after this, is what do these people do? Like, day to day. Like, what, if I was to meet one of your factions, what would it be like? Would it be tense? Would it be, you know, relaxed? Would it be, is it all business? Is it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, these are the kinds of things you should be thinking about when building your factions.
Sure.
Do you have any other points to add, or was that all encompassing?
I think that's an excellent overview, I would say.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to talk about your faction?
I mean, I can if you want. I've been
Yeah.
I know you're dying to tell me about your faction.
I have a couple. I might not go through
Okay.
all 7 of them, but I have a couple. So.
Okay, yeah. Let's, if you want, I'll do because I brought one with me today. Like, one full, like, I have ideas for like several, like, I think I have ideas for like 4 or 5, but this is the one that I fleshed out the most.
Okay.
So I'll start there, and then we'll just, you know, we'll unload.
Sure.
With all your stuff. So for the people who are following my world building, I'm doing a kind of darker, grittier fantasy where life is kind of, you know, hard, difficult, damning. And so I created a faction called the War Riders.
Ooh.
And here's my little description. The War Riders have been around since the fall of the gods. Their leader, the Valkyr, is known to be a demigod who siphoned their powers from the god of war themselves during the calamity. All that is known about this faction's homeland is there's an old northern city that had long since fallen called Galmastrand.
Okay.
And supposedly their base of operations, their home, is there. Their motto is the weak must be purged. All that will remain are the War Riders.
Damn.
Their goals. Go on.
Damn, that was a cool phrase.
Hell yeah, I like it. Goals. They seek to rid the world of the weak and conform any and all of the realm's strongest into their ranks. War Riders will often be found pillaging and attacking northern settlements and towns. Those who are strong are given one chance to join, and if they do not comply, they, along with all the weak, are slaughtered. They are a dangerous threat to those who live up by the northern edge of the realm, and should seek hiding if you hear the thunderous noises of hooves coming down the plain. And my last little like flavor, their emblem is a powerful steed coated in crimson red.
Nice.
Yeah, and those are the War Riders. I wanted to do a faction that would probably be against the party, like a faction of people who are like just marauders and like definitely people. While some people, depending on the kind of game they would play, might see them as like, okay, well, they're all, it's a very good organized thing, but to your standard adventurers would come off as kind of, bandits, marauders, those kinds of thugs.
Okay.
And so that's how it ties into my theme, is they are, it's very cutthroat, very dark. And, yeah, why don't you talk about I'm super excited to hear about yours.
Okay. So I want to start off with one that I kind of started talking about last week, which is a group called, Azer's Mercy Band. 10 years ago, a new philosophy of criminal reform was created. After being arrested for certain types of crime, so low-stakes things like theft, public drunkenness, indecency, illegal brawling, things like that. So, like, if you're, like, a murderer or things like that, chances are you're probably not going to find this. And are deemed to be of a rehabitable personality, you are given the option to join the Mercy Band. So, the Mercy Band has no official uniform. However, there is one commonality. All members of the Mercy Band have on both of their arms a band of leather studded with the lowest value gemstones that have a slight glow to them. So what's the lowest value gemstone, Cody? If you happen to know off the top of your head.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Let's just say for argument's sake it's rubies.
Sure.
So, if you complete missions from the Mercy Band, at least one per month, the stones will glow. If you do not report, the gems will cease to glow. The difficulty of the missions also determine the number of gems that glow. And once you completed your bands, you are deemed rehabitated, and you get to keep the gemstones. Some members of the band have 2 simple gold bands. These are members who have chosen to stay in the service of Azer's Mercy Band, helping their fellow criminals gain salvation. If the bands are removed before completion, the wearer suffers horrible necrotic damage that can only be healed by a cleric or paladin of Azer. And if the gemstones go completely dull, basically like you haven't done a mission for them in quite a while, then the wearer is frozen in place and guards are alerted to send the prisoners to the chambers of Reza, Azer's more brutal twin. So their slogan is oh god, where did I write that down? Oh, here it is. With Azer, mercy can be found. Their colors and sigils are a gray banner with black bars and then a yellow sphere symbolizing redemption rising from behind the bars. And the regular missions are mainly going to be like escort missions, maybe clearing out, a temple, maybe protecting people, but mainly it's going to be escort missions. I had this idea for a while of starting my crew off as prisoners, like seeking redemption, and then kind of giving them a number of factions to kind of branch off from, which will become clear in a couple of minutes, not quite yet. But the next one is the Rennian Transport Co. So the Rennian Transport Co. used to be the number 1 job creator in the kingdom, and while they still supply jobs to clerks, accountants, and low-level magic users, Lord Rennian has truly embraced the opportunity of Azer's Mercy Band to sort of give protection to his pathways without necessarily having to spend a lot of money on, guards or things like that, which has kind of created some issues. And then he is often providing aid to places in the kingdom. So the Rennian Transport Company is one of the most profitable businesses in the kingdom. However, it was discovered at one point to be smuggling illicit goods to and from different places.
Gasp!
Yeah, right. Upon this discovery, Lord Rennian threw himself upon the mercy of Azer, promising to provide the Mercy Band with work towards his own redemption. However, there are still rumors that he uses his company for illicit smugglings and perhaps more nefarious purposes, but all checks before departure seem to be legitimate. So their slogan is profit leads to help, help leads to peace. Their sigils is a bright gold banner, a pile of silver coins, and a ship and a horse-drawn cart going in opposite directions, showing like the reign of his, or the distance of his transport company. And then the main missions I see them sending you on, things would be like reclaim mines, protecting ambassadors, helping to keep his businesses safe. Now the next one is the Brotherhood of Broken Chains. The official word from the city is that the Brotherhood does not exist, as its founder was Councilor Doril Sterif. Sterif was a firm but fair member of the young Governor Intish, the recently elected Tiefling governor of the capital city. Now Sterif was not. He was strict. He was kind of firm. So some people found him kind of like stodgy, and he was fierce enemies with Lord Renyen. And then at one point, Renyen discovered that Sterif was conspiring against Intish. So she gave him an option: exile him to the salt mines, or to give him a spot in Azer's Mercy Band. Sterif quickly moved up the ranks of the Mercy Band, even getting towards one or two rubies away from being free himself, but he discovered something very dangerous, and so he escaped and brought a small band with him, a small group of followers with him. The only thing known is that he and his crew's bands have been dulled for well over 3 years at this point, and yet they have eluded capture from Raiza's guard. To the normal people, the Brotherhood offers protection, food, and money, something that the central government is starting to struggle with. Basically, this was my idea of giving the party members another option. I have not yet decided how he's going to phrase it, but if you want to work with me, I will keep you safe kind of deal. Their colors are a dull red banner, kind of mocking the fact that their rubies are dulled. With a black domino mask, and through the eye holes you can see the official flag of the nation. Their missions are going to be incredibly varied. The next one is the Lost Scholars of... Oh, and their slogan is Secret Protectors of the Peace. But no one acknowledges that. The Lost Scholars of Pegior. So at one point, the capital city was host to one of the most magnificent magic academias in the realm. It was even said that the city's high, unscalable walls were created by the students in ruins of the college. However, 2 generations ago, Lord Renyen's father, himself elected governor at the time, decreed that the College of Pegior was growing too powerful and wanted them disbanded under penalty of death. After the dean of the college...
Yikes.
Yeah, I know, right? After the dean of the college proclaimed that a small group needed to be in the school to preserve the ruins, Renyen's father conceded. Today, the school is off limits. Every year, a group of 10 is sent in to meet with the dean and learn of his needs. Every year, 1 or 2 young people are allowed into the school. However, the dean has a large and underground network of mages that he works with to continue their studies, create magic items, and work to train magic users. They have no known colors because they themselves are kind of a myth as well. Some missions that they will offer are reclaiming lost artifacts, helping magic users, protecting the secret, and helping the Brotherhood of Broken Chains. Their words are studies overall. And then the last 2 are kind of short. Or actually the last 3, they're all pretty short. So we have Mother's Gardeners. In the center of the capital city, a mysterious order of young priestesses help to tend a garden and fountain thought to be designed by Mother herself. The spring has healing properties, which brings pilgrims who spend large amounts of money in the capital. However, recently the priestesses have been sending away pilgrims, and no one is sure why. They have no missions. They are very secretive. Their colors are pure white with a blue fountain. And they have no words as far as anyone is aware. The council is the duly elected government of the region of Lashil. Generally pretty popular. However, with the springs being closed, people are not spending, meaning they are not receiving as much money, meaning that their programs are being cut and people are unhappy. Between that and the inter-council fighting, Governor Intish is losing her will to govern. However, due to the reputation and nature of Lord Renyen, people are not worried as he helps the young governor find her way. Their colors are forest green with a golden eagle. And then their missions are pretty standard Adventurers Fair stuff, with lots of IOUs, but also promises to help with the gems on your band if you choose going that path. And then the last one is the Cult of Patriarch. So a rumored...
I always love a good cult.
Right? Yeah. A rumored cult that is slowly raising in worship of an ancient being that supposedly existed before the gods named Father. However, the cells have been few and far between and have had little power. Now, Father, according to legend, desires a unified world under one strong leader. Periodically, too, Father hungers and demands sacrifices of the small folk. However, most all other factions have decided the cult has nothing to worry about. That's going to end up being the main antagonistic force. So,
go figure.
What? And then there's a little bit of intrigue thrown in there as well. Do you have an idea what that might be, Cody?
There's some secrets there.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know personally offhand. That was a lot of information to parse.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a lot of info dump. Sorry, folks.
No, it's fine. I wasn't able to make any connections.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure if I hear it like again, or if I find a nice worded pamphlet, I would be able to start making connections. But yeah. I do like where things are going. I do see the intrigue and how certain groups are kind of, everything's pretty vague and left to the imagination.
Yeah.
Some groups are working with each other. Some kind of work in tandem, kind of.
Sure.
Like it's nice. I like your overall. I also liked that you went mechanical in like the role-playing games and like what kinds of things you'll be doing with said factions and like what often those quests might be if that is a thing you are interested in.
Yeah, and too, like, I don't know, like, I was just thinking about the potential people I'm playing with, and it's like, part of me feels like they're going to go one of two directions, which is they're going to join up with the Brotherhood immediately, or they're going to try to stay legit, and so it's like, I wanted those two to have the most variety of missions.
Sure.
Whereas it's like, but if they decide to go with like the Renyan Transport Co. because, they just want to make lots of money, it's like, you might be kind of, maybe a little bit more limited because you're working for a transport company. They're not necessarily going to be like, go to the temple and bring me back this magical item. They're going to be like, well, if you do that, you're going to be off schedule and you need to be on schedule to make your money, things like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now,
cool.
Cody, what are we prepping for next week for our fine folk?
We are going to build a kingdom.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we're gonna go bigger than a town. We're gonna a small to medium to large collection of towns under one banner.
Yes. So I don't know about you. For me, I'm planning it to be my capital city.
I haven't decided yet. I think I'll do in this kind of weird direction that I've taken with this. I think I'm going to build like I don't want to say civilized, but like what's left after big events that have happened in this world.
Excellent. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a grand episode. Shall we wrap her up?
Heck yeah.
Well, we want to thank you guys so much for listening to yet another episode of Phantom Roulette.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun for me because I've been kind of building some of the stuff in my brain, and I'm really enjoying the fact that it's like, it's really, I don't know, forcing me isn't the right word, but it's really making me sit down and actually like put pen to paper for this stuff. And every time I do it, it's getting a little bit less scary to actually run this thing.
Yeah, perfect. That's what I like to hear.
But yeah, so we want to thank you guys so much. Please go back to the middle section to check in on what we have to offer to you, nice people. And as always, we want to thank you so much. Any last thoughts, Cody?
Like you said, thanks so much for listening to us, and go check the middle section for all, for spreading the wealth, the love,
spread that
the love.
Well, we want to thank you guys so much, and as always, thank you for listening to Phantom Roulette. And signing off, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.